Meteorologist Dave Caulfield here with this severe weather update. A tornado warning just issued for portions of Cass and St. Joseph counties in Michigan. This is just issued over the last few seconds here for really an isolated thunderstorm, but it is packing a punch. Over the last few minutes, the rotation in this storm has really tightened up, and you can see this includes Cassopolis at this point, Edwardsburg. The storm has just passed north of you, but this is over the M62 corridor, heading towards the M60 corridor as well over the next few minutes. This warning goes until Friday at 3:45 here, and so over the next 30 minutes or so, this is what we're really going to be focused on. We're zooming in here just south of Cassopolis. The potential tornado, if it were to be on the ground, is likely in between Cassopolis and Edwardsburg. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to step off here so we can show you the rotation. And I'm going to pull this up on our graphics here. Here we go. Okay, so you can see where that bright green is, right over M62 as it makes its way north out of Edwardsburg. That is where this potential tornado would be. So I'm going to step back on screen here and show you this area right here, just south of Pine Lake Street. This is in Cass County, Michigan, in between Edwardsburg and Cassopolis. This is moving, generally speaking, to the northeast. So Calvin, over the next 10 minutes or so, you need to get to your safe spot immediately because this is heading your way. And over the last few scans or so, this has really started to tighten up a little bit. So if we are seeing a tornado on the ground, and we're not getting confirmed reports of that, but this has definitely looked more concerning over the last 5 to 10 minutes or so. It would be in this area here, that bright green blob right next to the red is where the potential tornado would be. So this, at this point, is radar indicated, and so it's not on the ground confirmed yet, but it is something that we're watching closely. So if you're just joining us, a tornado warning issued for Cass County, Michigan into St. Joseph County, Michigan over the next 30 minutes or so. I'll go ahead and put that information on screen here. If you're just joining us, National Weather Service just issued a tornado warning for Cass County, Michigan, St. Joseph County, Michigan for the next 30 minutes or so. This goes until this afternoon at 3:45. And the storm, it's really the only storm that we have on radar. We had some thunder and lightning and heavy rain move through South Bend over the last 10 minutes or so, but the most concerning storm is here in the area in between Edwardsburg and Cassopolis, so basically right on M62 there. And we'll zoom in so we could see exactly what's going on. So likely in the Cassopolis area right now, you are dealing with some pretty substantial hail. That would be the purple that you see on the map there. I'll zoom in and we can see that there are some areas and the hail core continues to grow. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our hail tracker here to see what it is saying. Now, of course, the tornado warning is more important, but the hail is growing as well, and that's another indicator of a strengthening storm. When the hail size is increasing, the storm is usually strengthening, and so that's what we're seeing north of the storm. The storm dynamics, this is how a strong thunderstorm works. Usually the hail core is to the north of any potential rotation and tornado, and to the south, which we are seeing right now, this would be the area of concern. That green blob you see right there with my finger is north of the Edwardsburg area, basically right along M62. Hopefully over the next few minutes we'll get a new scan to see if this rotation is strengthening or tightening or if it's broadening out. If it's broadening out, that means that the tornado threat is going down. But for now, we have a tornado warning in Cass County for the next 30 minutes or so. This goes until 3:45. If you're just joining us, this storm, which is basically the only storm we have on radar, and I'm showing velocity right now, that is the spin. We're looking inside the storm for the level of spin that is showing up. And over the last 10 minutes, I was watching this very closely before we came on the air, it looked like this rotation, which is what this is measuring here, was really tightening up and really getting concerning. And so if there is a tornado on the ground, and at this point it is just radar indicated, the radar is looking into the system and saying, hey, this could be an area of concern. If we are going to see a tornado, it is likely in this area right here, in between Edwardsburg and Cassopolis. This is heading towards Calvin over the next 10 minutes. If you're in the Calvin area, anywhere north of Adamsville, south of Cassopolis, Vandalia, Williamsville, these are the areas that should be getting to your safe spot immediately, because this threat is imminent. Over the next 30 minutes or so, this storm is likely to track to the north and east. And so we're looking at radar right now. I'm going to go ahead and head back to, okay, we just got a new scan on the radar, and that is showing that area of rotation has jumped to the north and east as expected. Now, the good news is it has shrunk a little bit. That is at least a good sign, but it's still an area of concern. I'll go ahead and put the warning on here just so we can see exactly where we're talking about. So right now, the Calvin area, over the next 5 minutes or so, that tornado is potentially heading your way. And again, it is a radar indicated tornado warning. So no tornado has been sighted just yet, but we are likely to see the area of circulation move in this direction. So that's over a about 10-mile span. This will eventually head into the Calvin area, likely just to the north of Williamsville along Walnut Road, and eventually cross M60 if it stays together over the next few minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and put this into motion. If you're just joining us, a tornado warning issued for this storm. There's a lot of lightning in it, lots of loud thunder as well, and we've seen and had reports of hail in this storm, the strongest or the largest of which likely fell over the last 10 minutes or so. But again, this is a tornado warning, so we'll focus on the tornado threat on this. And so what I'm going to do is put the velocity into motion. Remember, velocity is trying to capture any areas of rotation that are going on. And so what spawned this tornado warning was about 10 minutes ago. This area of rotation that you see by Daly Road there, just north of Edwardsburg, this is 10 minutes ago, really starting to tighten up. And so the good news is, over the last few scans, and we always check the trend here, over the last few scans, we've seen that rotation be a little bit less ominous as it moves into the Calvin area. So right now, the area of strongest rotation, I'll zoom in, is right by Robinson Road. This is just to the southeast of Calvin. It's crossing Calvin Hill Street as well. This is likely to continue to the north and east over the next 10 minutes or so. What I will say is we like to give a comparison between Doppler radar and velocity. We like to see if those things are lining up. And at this point, they have a pretty good lineup. And what I mean by that is the radar sort of matches what we're seeing with velocity. At this stage, likely the heaviest hail or the strongest hail is moving into the Vandalia area, but that area of rotation is right down here. And so we like to match up the shape as well. If the shape on radar is saying one thing, but velocity is saying another, then it might be an indication that this storm is starting to weaken a little bit. It does look like over the last 10 minutes, the area of rotation here in this hook-like feature we're still concerned about, but it does look like it's improving ever so slightly, and we'll have to wait a little bit for a new scan. I want to go back to velocity here so we can track that area of potential rotation a little bit stronger. And see, just as I said that, this is why you have to really watch these storms. Calvin, you should be in your safe spot. If you are not, get to your safe spot immediately. A potential tornado is heading your way. This area right here, I'm going to go ahead and draw it on this map here. Right here, where that area of green and red meet. The old saying used to be, when green meets red, get under the bed, because that is the area that we are most concerned about here. This has now crossed Calvin Hill Street. It's heading into Calvin at this point, radar indicated, but this is the area of most concern, and it is south at this point of Brownsville Road, but I would venture to guess over the next few minutes this is going to continue to move to the north and east and eventually cross Calvin Center Road over the next few minutes or so. So if you're to the northeast in the Williamsville area, spots north closer to M60, get in your safe spot immediately. I'll go ahead and take this off the screen and zoom out here so we can get a better picture of how this storm is moving and operating, because these storms this time of year in early spring can really act up quickly and they can die down quickly as well. So that's at least some good news. But at this point, we still really do need to focus on the Calvin area. And I want to go ahead and put a storm track on this. So first of all, I'll put the warning information up for everyone. This warning, it is radar indicated. It goes until 3:45. So over the next 20 minutes or so, we're very concerned about the Cass County area into extreme portions of northwest St. Joseph County. And it is in the Calvin area that we are most concerned at this point. This storm, according to the National Weather Service, is moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. So I will go ahead and put a storm track on this, focusing on that area of strongest rotation. So what we're going to do here, because this is an isolated storm and not a line, I have to change some things on my graphics, so bear with me as I do that. But we are watching this area. If it is truly moving at about 35 miles per hour, it would have its sights set on the Newburgh area by about 3:40. So Newburgh, you have about 10 to 15 minutes. Get to your safe spot immediately, because this center of rotation is heading your way. It's likely in Calvin at this point. Eventually we'll cross Brownsville Road, head in between Vandalia and Newburgh, and then eventually, if it stays together, head into extreme northwestern St. Joseph County, Michigan, not Indiana. I know it can be confusing this time of year. This storm is heading northeast, so South Bend not in any danger from this storm at this point, but members of Cass County and St. Joseph County, Michigan could be under the gun for a potential tornado. Let's see, it looks like the warning is blinking, so that means that there could be a new update in. This was issued still about 10 minutes ago, but the hazards here would be a potential tornado and quarter-size hail. We've seen and heard reports of some substantial hail with this as well, and that hail core is continuing. You can see it from basically the Milton area all the way through north of Edwardsburg as this storm is heading through and now likely impacting the Vandalia area. This product updates a few minutes after that hail comes down. So here's a look at the latest velocity scan, and as this storm made its way through Calvin, tightened up a little bit, and now it's looking a little bit less clear on our radar product here. And that can be for a few reasons. We don't want to dismiss it all that much, but we're still concerned in the Calvin area and also now just north of Williamsville. There's a couple of spikes here on our velocity product, and these aren't perfect, but it does give us a sense of where that strongest rotation might be. And we're still concerned about that tornado warning continuing, but it's a little bit muddied. It's a little bit less clear at this point. And so what I was talking about earlier is matching that up to the radar product. So here is what the velocity scan looks like. It's a little bit less clear, a little bit less indicative of a potential tornado that is going on, but the radar product is still showing a concerning shape. Now, when we talk about the radar of a tornadic storm, we often look for that hook. That hook in a storm like this is a really good indicator of usually where that tornado is trying to form, where the strongest rotation might be. And so that's still just to the northeast of Calvin. That hook that I'm talking about, you can clearly see it on radar. If you sort of follow my hand here as I trace it, that is where the storm is feeding inflow. Inflow is just air heading into the storm, and that's what helps make that spin, right? If you just picture a top, you need that source of spin to keep that top going, and that is essentially what we're looking at in a tornado or a potential tornado. This is still radar indicated, but the blinking warning here does mean that there might be an update in over the next few seconds or so. Okay, so National Weather Service is still saying this is radar indicated rotation, so that's good news. No one has cited a tornado at this point, and we're still looking at a movement of northeast at 35 miles per hour. Quarter size hail still a concern. Obviously, a tornado is as well. Let's go ahead and put back on the velocity scan here. Okay, so another thing that we need to watch for, and you might be a little bit confused why the green spike was early on over the last few scans. So when the storm was southwest of Calvin, we had this area of green that was sort of showing the concern. Now, because we're moving farther to the east, it's a spike of red, and that makes sense because it's on the other side of the radar. And so the radar is picking up that it's still strong wind and potentially a tornado, but now it's heading in sort of the opposite direction. So the area of strongest rotation is likely heading north of Williamsville at this point. Jones, Michigan, so areas like Swiss Valley, you need to be in your tornado safe spot. Newburgh into the county line there between Cass and St. Joseph County, you need to be in your safe spot at this point because tornadoes don't like to stay in polygons. We're talking about a very fluid system, a fluid phenomenon here, where just because the tornado warning is saying, okay, spots closer to Newburgh could be under the gun, tornadoes don't care what the polygon says. They're going to go where they want to go, and we can generally track that they're heading to the northeast, but it doesn't mean that spots like Williamsville, spots like Fabius, are out of the woods here, because we could see potentially a turning of this potential tornadic storm, and an area of most concern could shift a little bit to the right. So just because you're not technically in this polygon or in this warning, we still need to be on guard. So spots in northwestern St. Joseph County, Three Rivers, I'm looking at you over the next 20 minutes. Pay close attention and be ready to head to your safe spot immediately. Fabius, we're talking about that as well. And the Newburgh area, especially over the next few minutes, we're talking 5 minutes or so, because this is moving at 35 miles per hour. You need to be ready to head to that safe spot, and you should actually be there already. If you're not, please head to your safe spot as quickly and as carefully as you can. And so we are still looking at this area here. This storm now passed through Calvin, over Calvin Center Road, into the Walnut Road area of Williamsville. And we're still looking at this tornado warning continuing for the next 10 minutes or so. This goes until 3:45. We'll see if there's a new warning either extended off of this warning or if it's shifted a little bit to the east, because it looks like the rotation is a little bit more muddied, but there are still some areas of concern. Anytime you sort of see a spike of pink here, and it's tough to see because it's right on the warning line here, that is something that we need to watch closely. So this would be south of Newburgh and south of, or right on the M60 line at this point, excuse me. So in between M60 and Newburgh, that is the area of my greatest concern at this point, even though it's really on the borderline of that tornado warning. I'm going to go ahead and step off for just a second here and show you. I'm going to go ahead and take the warning information off just for a second, because what we're seeing here is that area of rotation becoming a little bit more broad, but we're also seeing still an area of rotation. I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of water just for a second. All right, and so the Jones area is really under the gun at this point. So in Jones, Michigan, into your safe spot immediately. Potential tornado is heading your way. Right along M60 there, the Corey area, right on the county line, also needs to be on guard. This likely will pass just south of Newburgh, but it is still a very dangerous storm at this point, with that tornado warning continuing for the next 10 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and put that warning information on there. And yeah, so I obviously don't control the tornado warning. The National Weather Service does a fantastic job issuing these, working with us here at ABC 57. At this point, unfortunately, the strongest rotation is actually right on the warning line. So that is making it hard for me to be able to give you the best sense of the strongest part of this storm. Okay, so over the last scan, I want you to notice those shades of pink in the Jones area. The Jones area probably getting hit very hard right now with potential wind and a potential tornado, because remember, this is radar indicated. But I'm going to go ahead and just pop on some information. And okay, so that is potentially some 60-mile-per-hour winds. It might not be getting the cleanest scan here as well. And remember, this is not at ground level. This is the potential for a few thousand feet up, but it gives us at least a pretty good sense of the wind. But if it is rotating, if it is straight line winds, still 60-mile-per-hour winds, which is being estimated by radar, and above 60-mile-per-hour winds on sort of the southeast side of Jones, right by M60, that would be sort of the strongest part of this storm at this point. So a tornado, we can't necessarily tell a tornado's strength just by looking at this. Remember, tornadoes are rated on damage, not necessarily on wind speed. We match the wind speed up to the damage. But anytime you see shades of pink here, that is a concern. So there's multiple shades of pink south of Jones that we are keeping a close eye on. And we just got a new scan here. We're still seeing some rotation. It might be starting to broaden out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and take this circle down and go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And what I want to do is, as this storm potentially goes into the St. Joseph County, Michigan area, we're talking about St. Joseph County, Michigan. St. Joseph County, Indiana, including South Bend, is not under a threat of a tornado. But as this storm now crosses into St. Joseph County, Michigan, I just want to be clear that we are talking about the Michigan St. Joseph County in ABC 57's viewing area, not St. Joseph County, Indiana. Now that I have that out of the way, we are seeing that the storm might be broadening out a little bit, might be weakening. And when I say broaden out, what I want you to look at is sort of, there's a lot of colors here, and we're obviously looking at where the green and the red meet, but there's not that tight circulation that we saw when the storm was southwest of Calvin. It's a little bit messier. It's a little bit more of a splatter painting at this point instead of a clear dot of red and green or pink and green at this stage. Still some strong wind, especially in between Newburgh and Williamsville and Fabius over the next few minutes. Really needs to be on guard for this. But the good news is, well, as I say good news, we've seen the warning extended to the south and east. And so this is what I was talking about over the last few minutes or so, whether or not this storm is not necessarily staying in that original polygon. So we have a new one out here. And so we are going to get the latest information on this new tornado warning. So new tornado warning issued for portions of Cass County and into portions of St. Joseph County. This St. Joseph County, Michigan, of course. This includes Fabius, and this includes Three Rivers over the next few minutes. I'll go ahead and put on the warning information just issued by the National Weather Service, a tornado warning for Cass County, Michigan and St. Joseph County, Michigan. This goes until 4:15 p.m. Is radar indicated still, but we are still seeing areas of rotation in this. And then this storm is moving a little bit faster at this point, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. So I'll go ahead and put a storm track on this, and this is why it's important to keep an eye on just regular Doppler radar, because that is a very concerning shape at this point. There's a clear hook there, and you understand why the National Weather Service made this call, because that is pretty clear to me that there still could be a tornado trying to form at any moment in extreme eastern portions of Cass County, Michigan. This is really heading to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So areas like Fabius into the Three Rivers area over the next 10 to 15 minutes. This is the way that this tornadic storm or potential tornadic storm is tracking. So Fabius, Three Rivers into the 131 corridor. If you are in this area, get to your tornado safe spot immediately. This is a concerning looking storm, and we saw that the storm may have tried to sort of do a bit of a replacement cycle, but it still looks dangerous at this point. What concerns me, just from a meteorologist perspective, right, is there is nothing over here. And you might be saying that's good news, right? We don't have to worry about other storms. Not necessarily. Why I'm so concerned is there's nothing to the south to stop the tornado or potential tornado from strengthening. If we had storms to the south, which we did early on in this storm's life cycle, then I wouldn't be as concerned. But we have basically an open runway in St. Joseph County, Michigan for Fabius and Three Rivers. So we're going to continue to get some of that warm air feeding into the system, and that will create a dangerous situation potentially for portions of St. Joseph County, Michigan. I'm going to go ahead and step off here and got some other meteorologists in the studio with me as well, just trying to get you the very latest information on this. And so we're going to go ahead and match up velocity with this latest scan. And there you go. We have an area of potentially strong rotation right in the Corey area. Those shades of pink and red right there, right where that potential tornado would be. I'll go ahead and circle that quickly on here so we know exactly what we're talking about here. So the Corey area likely getting hit hard at this point with a potential tornado. Just got a new scan in, and Chief Meteorologist Tom Coomes is in studio with us, is going to take over coverage in just a few minutes here. Just trying to get the very latest on this radar scan, this velocity scan. It's not as clean as it once was, but it's still a concern, especially when you see different shades in there. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get sort of a clean read on potentially how strong this would be. And since I have the tornado warning information up, it's going to give me that first.
But
okay.
Again, this is what we're focused on right now. Latest update I have, Emmett's also in the studio. Double check me on that though. This is still just tornado. This is just radar indicated. Yes. We still have no observation on this. And that's really kind of the point here. This is a dangerous looking situation. There's definitely rotation, and this kind of popped up within the past, 30 minutes or so. Went from all right, there's some hail in LaPorte County to then taking a shape that then has the classic tornado vortex signature. This triggers a lot of warnings and automatic warnings out there. You can see the history of hail there. But again, there's that classic hook right there, now moving towards the Fabius area. And this is a classic looking tornado storm. So if we had our meteorology textbooks out right now, we would say, okay, this is a dangerous situation. We need to be prepared. However, we're not getting any ground truth or ground reports. Stay on the NWS chat, especially Emmett, and let us know if anything comes in. We're not getting a lot of, hey, I saw this, I saw this, I saw that. We are taking the precautions right now to get you in your safe spot. This is also one cell, kind of like one lone actor here. And so this is the one cell that we're on. This warning going up to at least the top of the hour, I believe. But again, here's the storm track on this. You can see towards Corey by 343, Lockport by 358, and Parkville by 404. So again, we're still going across at least St. Joseph County in Michigan. So the Three Rivers area is where I want you to pay attention to. So from now until 4 o'clock, if you're in the Three Rivers area, you are getting in your home right now. You're getting towards your safe spot, but you have about 10 minutes or so. So we're giving you a 10-minute lead time at this point if you are in Three Rivers. But if you're anywhere between Corey and Three Rivers right now, you're in your safe spot right now. So again, it's right along, again, this corridor. You can see this has already crossed over M40, so it's looking like it's almost running parallel from Corey to Three Rivers on the north side of M60. If you live north of M60 in St. Joseph County, Michigan, near 131 and 160, so again, very close to Three Rivers, you're in your safe spot. Again, it's in this hook area right now towards the Fabius area. Again, that is the nastiest looking hook, at least right in here. And you kind of see where there's kind of a weakening of an echo region in there. So somewhere in here, if there is a tornado on the ground, it would be somewhere right in this area. So again, if you're in Fabius right now, this is along M60 going up towards M131. This is the danger zone right here. If you're anywhere between Corey and Three Rivers, get to your safe spot now. This looks really gnarly. Again, if we had our meteorology textbook out, this would be something that we would be very concerned about. We're just not getting a lot of information. This is also a rural area, but typically we start getting more reports from rural fire departments and law enforcement about something, about information coming in. So we are taking this incredibly seriously at this time. If you're in St. Joseph County in Michigan right now, this is the danger spot, and it's running right along or would be crossing M60 right around the Fabius area. So that'll be something that we will need to confirm as we go forward, but kind of directing for our news groups in the back. Again, make sure we're checking probably the Fabius area for any damage. That's where we're kind of looking for any information coming in out of the area in now St. Joseph County in Michigan. So this is crossed out of Cass County, has now exited the Newburgh area. If you're in Newburgh, you're technically under this tornado warning, but really the threat here is going to be towards Three Rivers. Also, if you're on the northern flank of this, if you're in Moore Park, this is a hail signature. So tornadic signature here and hail signature up towards the north. The north side of the storm could have some larger hail, and that will be something that we're going to watch fairly closely as well. Dave, you have new information coming in.
Yeah, so we have a report. We're keeping up with National Weather Service chat over the last few minutes. So this report coming in from about 10 to 15 minutes ago of the Cass County Emergency Management saying that there was a report of a tornado touchdown between Niles and Edwardsburg in Cass County. This was about 10 or 15 minutes ago. Potentially one person trapped as well in that area. So in between Niles and Edwardsburg at this point. And again, that was about 15 minutes ago when the storm was arguably at its strongest. But we are still watching a hook-like region on here, and now the concern goes closer to the Fabius and the Three Rivers area at this point in time.
So that's what often happens, especially with these kind of storms, is there's nothing, it happens, and now these storms often go through a cycle. So again, we're seeing multiple cycles here of this storm. This is near the Fabius area, and so we're still focused on this right here. Again, some of this hook region. At this point, we have now one report, but unconfirmed, of exactly what we're seeing. Looks like we're watching some video here as well off to my side to see if we can get any kind of confirmation. But we're taking this seriously, even though technically the warning is for a radar indicated tornado. We have now reports of at least possible damage somewhere between Niles and Edwardsburg. I don't see a lot of other damage that has kind of filled in here to where this is widespread, but we're taking it very seriously anywhere from Fabius to Three Rivers, also up towards the Moore Park area. Again, it's this shield right in here. That is the hail signature in here, but this is running if it is on the ground, if there is a tornado, it's somewhere right through here. So crossing the Fabius area, there's the area of rotation, now getting close to Three Rivers. If you're in Three Rivers, get to your safe spot now. This is now a dangerous situation that is close to you, that you might be watching us. You need to get inside to a safe location. Get to your safe spot. If you have a basement, that is the best location. An interior room, also the best location there, away from windows. But this has, at least we do have confirmed damage reports north of Edwardsburg along Harris Street. So again, we do have indication that there is a history of damage with this. So while we don't have technically an observed report of a tornado just yet, we do have confirmed report of a history of damage. So we're going to take this very seriously. Again, from Fabius up towards Three Rivers right now, this is kind of that danger zone right in here. If you're in Three Rivers right now, get to your safe spot now. This storm spun up very quickly within the past 30 minutes, just after 3 o'clock. That's roughly the touchdown time of a lot of this damage, and then quickly flowed up towards the north and east and has been at least producing a tornado signature. Again, that's that red and green indication right through here as it approaches the Three Rivers area. This tornado warning goes until 4:15. That's roughly the time frame it's going to take to actually get across St. Joseph County in Michigan as it cuts across the Three Rivers area. If you're in Three Rivers right now, get to your safe spot. We have at least reports of confirmed damage from this storm. Whether it is tornadic or not, that is still to be determined. We have reports of damage. We have not had any official reports of a funnel just yet. Is that, do you guys have video? Yes or no?
We
don't have video. We're working on video, but we have a funnel.
Yeah, so we have at least seen video over the last 5 minutes or so. We've seen video in what looks like a funnel. Unclear if there was a touchdown or not, but at least a funnel in the Eagle Lake area. This was...
So that's near Edwardsburg.
Yeah, so this was about 30 minutes ago. Yeah, so 3:10 p.m. was the time that was listed on the video. We're working to get accuracy on that because we don't want to jump the gun, but there definitely seems to be damage in that area that would potentially be consistent with something like this, but we have at least seen video of one funnel in the Eagle Lake area over the last hour or so.
Okay, good to know. So again, we have at least have reports of seeing a funnel. We have some reports of damage. Whether all those things come together, this is a moot point at this point. If you're in the Three Rivers area, you are taking action. You're going to get to your safe spot right now. So tornado warning, the Three Rivers area right now. This is what's happening right now. You need to take precaution. We now have some video of damage in the Edwardsburg area. Are we able to take that at this time? This is, so again, this is video, looks like of someone driving. This is my first time. So this is now a home there that we can see damage of. So you can see the front part of a home damaged.
Conrad Road.
That's along Conrad Road there. So again, this is someone driving by. Looks like emergency personnel on scene, and again, that damage to a home there. And this is what prompted that tornado warning. You can see even possibly maybe the gate had to be driven into to have an emergency responder show up. So again, we're showing you this. That is the spot of damage, at least that we have seen so far. We have at least some video that's come in of a reported funnel cloud. Now we have a considerable threat tornado warning. Come back here, come back here. This means that that this signature is now a serious situation. If you're in the Three Rivers area, you need to be inside. The threat is considerable. It is still technically radar indicated, but this is an upping of this concern of this tornado to be a highly dangerous situation. Inside, away from windows right now, you guys can take... we want kids in elementary schools to be sheltering. Again, this is from the Three Rivers area. So again, this is a considerable warning now for the Three Rivers area. This is not to be taken lightly, even though technically no one has gotten eyes on this tornado. It is now moving to the Three Rivers area. If you look at this, if you look at that signature right in there, just south of Three Rivers, this is a very dangerous situation. Again, that signature is nasty. Just south of Three Rivers, again, towards the Lockport area, at least right now. So this is now moving across. This is now the Three Rivers area. So we got reports that the Edwardsburg schools are still sheltering in place, which is a good precaution. But I'm telling you right now, the danger is in Three Rivers. So this is the danger zone now. The other threats that are out there, that they are now past. The threat is over Three Rivers, and this is a considerable threat. See if we can dive in just a little bit more, Dave, and
sure.
zoom in just a little bit more on these streets, because again, we are getting now between Three Rivers and Lockport. Again, this is right through here. So again, you can see the roads that are kind of right. We're just now to the east of 131, so this is the south side of Three Rivers. But this is a considerable threat right now. Three Rivers towards the south side. So if we have crews, we should be moving them in the direction of Three Rivers right now, because it's going to take us a while to get there. But reports, this does not look like a very good sign. This is crossing M86 right through here. This, I know it looks like a lot of colors and what we're seeing here, but this is very considerable. Guys, you got more on this?
Yeah, we have, at least on National Weather Service chat, we have multiple, or we have reports of chasers confirming a multi-vortex tornado entering Three Rivers, lofting debris. This was 2 minutes ago.
So 2 minutes ago, this is now taking a sharp turn towards a considerable tornado on the ground. And typically when we have these kind of signatures, we've just seen the jump here that may have kind of broken apart into a broad rotation and jumped up towards the north. Keep in mind, our radar scans come in roughly every 2 to 3 minutes in this situation. So you're not going to have a very smooth jump through here, but this is the situation right now. Tornado warning, considerable threat until 4:15, and it sounds like we're now having actual visual confirmation of this on the ground. So initially, we had what we call a signature. We had a couple of reports of damage that seemed to be somewhat isolated, and this now seems to be, again, at its peak of what we're warning towards, and reports by storm chasers in the NWS data feed of seeing a tornado somewhere around the Three Rivers area. We've not seen an update on that warning. Also, considerable hail on the north side. If you're towards the North Park area or Parkville, Moore Park or Parkville, that is a hail signature right there. That's the classic hook. Again, this is a very classic tornado vortex signature. If we were opening up our meteorology textbook, we would say this is a serious situation. If you're anywhere from Three Rivers towards the northeast, between Three Rivers and Parkville, what's the update? Can we get an updated storm track on this? Yeah, right through here. If you're anywhere along this line here, so again, between Three Rivers and Parkville, just to the south of Parkville, this is kind of that danger zone right in here, and this is going to take us up to about 4:05. So here we are at 3:56. We're giving you 10 minutes. If you're anywhere along this line, that is a danger zone. I'm going to hop over here so we have a better view of this, and we've got more information from Dave and Emmett.
Yeah, so it looks like spotter reports indicated the tornado has lifted at this point, but that might not be for very long just because of the shape of the radar here. And this is why this is important. If we're matching this up with the potential velocity scan, it's a lot more muddled and messy. And what that means is there's broad rotation, so that tornado can reform potentially at any time. So just because it's lifted as of now, that might not mean that it's lifted for good, so to speak. And getting reports out of the St. Joseph County, Michigan EMA of heavy damage reported by the fire department in Three Rivers, and that is consistent with what we have seen on radar over the last few minutes. And it's interesting, you see, I'll highlight this here on radar. You have that hook that we've been talking about right there.
Yep.
And we're getting sort of a tightening of that hook. I'll go ahead and shift this just a little bit. What we're seeing here is a really strong notch, and Tom, you probably can verify this as well. Right there, that could be indicating that this is trying to put down another tornado in portions of St. Joseph County.
And what typically, I want you to get the storm track back up there, because at this point, our basis is warning people between Three Rivers and the Parkview area, and even towards Mendon right now. That's the danger zone. If you're anywhere from Three Rivers to Parkview to Mendon, you are in or close to your safe spot right now if you're watching us, anywhere in this line. That's our number one concern right now. If you're anywhere along this line, this is a very rural or open area, we have this concern. So if you're anywhere in our now highlighted blue box, I would expect an extension of this tornado warning if you're in this area. Emmett.
Yeah, Tom, we got clearance to use that funnel video from Eagle Lake, so we can officially show that. And can we take that, please? Producers, thank you. All right, here's the video from Eagle Lake. Again, you can see a good notch there. So this is definitely a funnel cloud. So this is about 30 minutes ago. Yeah, 3:10 p.m. Tom.
3:10 p.m. So almost an hour ago. And what often happens with a tornado is they often go through cycles. They're not always on the ground the entire time. So they go through cycles, and you can see a classic funnel cloud there. And then, is it touching the ground? Is it not? This is where, again, it's a moot point. This is where we're starting. This is about the time that those warnings were issued. We started watching, we had our first app update on this cell around 2:50 p.m. today, as we were like, all right, let's watch this for hail. and then started to kind of close itself up and become into a circulation as soon as it moved through portions of Cass County. So that's from Eagle Lake. I want us to go back to the radar picture though, because there is a significant tornado threat still on the ground, and this is our area of concern. Now past Three Rivers, and we're just to the south. Parkview likely getting hit by some hail through this area right here. That's what that purple indicates. So this is the hail sector. There's the, you can see mostly on the north side of this hail tracker product is a little bit delayed, but you're going to notice that the hail will be filling in on the north side towards Parkview, and the south side of the storm is where that tornado threat is. If you can go back to the radar picture, let's make sure we're zoomed in just a little bit more, but it looks like just south of Parkview, and we're starting to see this notch close in just right here. So north of what is called Lockport, anywhere along M60. If you're anywhere along M60 to the east of Three Rivers, I know this kind of gets a little rural and open in here, you're in your safe spot. This is a dangerous situation. This is a considerable threat right now that we're keeping our eye on. But if you're anywhere along M60, this is the tornado warning. This is a now very dangerous situation. As we're seeing, again, the number, we're looking for other damage reports to be confirming. What's likely to come through here is that we're going to see a tornado or tornado reports that might skip along, that might continue to skip along. But this is along M60 through here. This is that danger zone. So now past Three Rivers, we've had reports of what could be serious damage in the Three Rivers area, and now moving up towards the north and east, just south of Parkville. So we are still in St. Joseph County in Michigan, but it's right in through here. It's this notch right through here. That is that nasty looking tornado signature. And if there is a tornado on the ground, it's somewhere in here. And we can see there's kind of the notch. The rotation is a little bit muddled here as we have what could be some strong straight line wind out front. And then somewhere in here is the rotation as we kind of see that red versus green signature in here. It's not always completely easy to see. Dave, I want you to stay on that view, and I'm just going to slide back over, and I'm just going to, let's just rock this back and forth a little bit, and we will see how this kind of plays out. You can see how this kind of moves in here. Change this view just a tad, and we're just going to rock this rotation, and you can see from Three Rivers towards the north how it goes from very tight rotation there and then kind of fans out. And so that's kind of where we are right now of this fanning out of that tornado signature. Doesn't mean that we're taking a sigh of relief here. We're telling you that this storm has gone through a couple cycles. And so it looks like we're now having a re-up, or we're not seeing quite the extension of this warning right now. Anything new in NWS chat about this warning so far?
We're looking into it. It does look like that area of strongest rotation has moved out of the tornado polygon, but as we mentioned before, tornadoes don't like to listen to our polygons that we draw. It's just sort of an indication of the most concern on this, but I would still say in the Mendon area, it needs to be really, really careful over the next few minutes, because that storm is still pretty fierce as it moves towards M60.
Yeah, we're going to stay on air with this. And Dave, I want you to slide the radar picture just a little bit more to focus in on the Mendon area. I want that in the center portion of the map, and just back out just a tad. And so we're focusing on the Mendon area because here's the area of rotation. Here it is. There's the new warning, the extension of this. So we can kind of get out ahead of you as we're wondering, were they going to extend the warning here? And so this is kind of making it official. This is the rough area of concern. This is Mendon. If you're in Mendon right now, this warning now goes until 4:30. This will take us pretty much out into the extension portion of the rest of St. Joseph County, and this will officially clear our area. But now we have observed and considerable. So this is how this warning has been updated. We've gone from what was a radar signature. We weren't getting many reports. A few reports came in late. After we got reported damage, we finally got video of a funnel, and then we had confirmed reports of a very strong tornado on the ground in Three Rivers. And this is how this has gone from a very small spin up to now a considerable threat over the past 30 minutes to roughly an hour. And here we are at 4:04, And if you're in the Mendon area right now, if you are in Mendon, you're in your safe spot right now. This is the danger zone. If we get an update storm track on that when you can, Dave, thank you so much. If you're really anywhere along this line, Mendon towards the Leonidas area, that is the problem. This storm, it may seem like it sometimes. Storms don't read maps, but this storm has been roughly following M60 across Cass and into St. Joseph County in Michigan, and roughly following that line, dancing kind of on either side of it, but it's been running along the M60 corridor. So my message really is, if you are anywhere within 5 miles of M60 and you live close to Mendon or Leonidas, you're in your safe spot right now. This is the danger. This is ramped up. We have been basically tracking this storm since before 2 o'clock when it was first coming together. We had updates on our app. Then we broke into programming as, again, that threat started to go up. And here we are now with a considerable observed tornado. This is the progression that we have seen roughly over the past hour, and a rather quick progression. So take down that, and you can see we've really kind of seen a blow up of this, as you can see the orange and red right through here, and we'll get a rough estimate or average of some of that velocity. We'll try and get a pixel query in on that. But that is indicating a very tight rotation. I think you're going to have to do just a query on that, Dave, and maybe not a box. Emmett.
Yeah, Tom, we have from the Colon Community School District that any students that have been on the bus when this tornado warning was issued have now been sheltered in place at the school. School is asking people to not come and pick their kids up until 4:15 p.m. As soon as the warning has been lifted, students will go back on the bus and be transported home for Colon, Michigan, in St. Joseph County.
So Cologne, yes, for Cologne. So that's right here, and so they're taking those necessary precautions as well. That is the right playbook. Is you don't want buses driving around in through this area that is moving into a tornado zone. So even though Cologne is not under that tornado threat, the Leonidas area is, and so is Mendon. And we don't want parents or anyone else driving around. Your job right now is to be in your safe spot, away from windows, in a basement if possible. That is the concern. So between Mendon and Leonidas right now, this storm has really ramped up, and it's in through here that we see, again, the strongest of a tornadic signature, as we see that orange versus pink in there. This is where we're starting to indicate a wind speed greater than 70 miles per hour, if not more than 80 up to 100 miles per hour, and that's only in one direction. When you start getting into rotational velocity, again, how strong that spin is, it can be much higher than that. But this is a serious situation, and if you're in Mendon right now, in the Mendon to Leonidas area, get to your safe spot. Emmett just mentioning the Cologne School Corporation taking necessary precautions. Whether you're under the tornado warning or not, we're taking this very seriously for St. Joseph County in Michigan. This is a very textbook storm through here. We're seeing basically anything line up. Even though these brighter colors look really bad, it's actually this area that is not quite as bright. That's actually that danger zone into that hook where we see kind of that area of rotation. This is often where that tornado actually is. Radar cannot tell you exactly where the tornado is, but it gives you a good update. And keep in mind that radar is a picture snapshot. So this is a picture of what the atmosphere was like roughly 2 or 3 minutes ago. And so now we're kind of filling in the gaps. That tornado, if it's on the ground, is likely very close to Mendon and will be moving towards the Leonidas area right now. So it's in through here, so we kind of have that notch. We're giving you kind of that likely zone where that tornado is. And so it's moving into the Mendon area right now. And again, this is kind of that area that we continue to see. It's been following along very close to M60. So right through here, this is a new snapshot here at 4:08. 4:08, we get roughly a picture from the NWS radar in northern Indiana every 3 minutes or so. They typically come in on this level of scanning. It's rapid scanning, but right in through here would be that area of concern traveling right along M60. This is where that notch is, and this is still a very serious and dangerous situation. And we've seen this really progress more and more. We have new videos starting to come in. Yeah. Make sure we're getting that off.
Where is that at? This is Three Rivers
Okay.
By the Menards and storage unit.
Okay, so that was likely when that tornado was observed about 10 or 15 minutes ago.
We'll try and get that turned around as quickly as possible.
Tom, I wanted to mention to you, are you noticing that almost rear inflow notch on the backside of this?
So we have this kind of just right in here. And this is where, at this point in this storm, we don't care whether the wind is spinning or going in one direction, but there are different parts of this storm where you may have technically straight line wind damage around this, or you may have tornado wind damage. Either way, this is a dangerous storm. Here's a tornado threat. This is kind of a rear flank straight line wind threat. And then up towards the north, that's the hail threat. That's where all those very bright colors are, often leading on the north side of a supercell like this.
We have gotten reports of nearly 2-inch hail in that area, right, Emmett?
In LaPorte, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, separate reports.
So there are some histories of that with this storm. This kind of started out as just looked like a hail maker, and you can kind of see they're issuing now a severe thunderstorm warning on the north side of this storm just to the east of Schoolcraft, so into Kalamazoo County. That's going to be for the hail reported with this storm, and then we'll see about that tornado threat as that's got to continue on as we continue to move off. Let's continue the focus here right on the Mendon area right now. If you are in Mendon at this moment, this is kind of that danger zone right in through here. So again, this is the spot right along M60, That's kind of that notch where that likely tornado would be. So Mendon right now, this is the snapshot, but keep in mind this snapshot is already a little old. It's a little older than what we're seeing at this moment. So that tornado is likely now moving into Mendon right now. This is a serious and dangerous situation. We want you inside, away from windows, in your safe spot right now. So Mendon, Michigan in St. Joseph County. This is kind of our focus right now. And the reason, if you've been watching us, that we're focused on one location is because there really is just one cell out there. If you've been in South Bend, if you're in Mishawaka, you're saying, what is going on? It's been a very nice day. The sun is out. But the reason is because we've had one cell that really started to spin up over the Niles-Edwardsburg area quite quickly. And then it developed and has developed to this point to be a considerable threat that has been observed. We've had reported damage, and all this really kind of ramping up in roughly the past now hour. And I would say even more so the past 30 minutes or so, when a lot of the damage has come in across Cass and now into St. Joseph County in Michigan. Here's Mendon. Mendon to Leonidas. I'm just stepping out of the way just for a second. Mendon to Leonidas. Leonidas by around 4:20. So 4:20 p.m. will be that area that we continue to watch. Again, we have team coverage right now. We have meteorologist Dave Caulfield, who started this coverage, and meteorologist Emmett Toomey, who's in studio right now as we kind of continue to gather everything as this really ramped up very, very quickly. What do you have, Dave?
Now circulation over Mendon at this point. So likely the worst of it just beginning in the Mendon
So
area.
right through here, and this is also the latest scan. So that's what's important as well. So now we're probably anywhere from Mendon jumping over to this juncture of M60, and I think that's M66 it looks like, and then towards Leonidas. So Mendon to Leonidas. In Mendon right now is a likely tornado on the ground, and then to the east of Mendon, and I tell you, storms don't follow roads. They don't know maps, but this one really seems to be following M60 off towards the east, towards the Leonidas area. So if you're in Leonidas, the rough timeline right now is 4:21. So that's going to take us about 10 more minutes as we go from Mendon to Leonidas. That's the report that we're seeing, and that's the time frame that we have right now as far as a likely tornado on the ground. Get to your safe spot now. A lot of school corporations are now taking precautions as this is kind of a time where parents are out either picking up their kids. It's a Friday trying to head home from work. Your message now is to stay where you are until you have further information. If you know anything in this area, this is kind of that area of concern. Mendon to Leonidas, as this storm has just blown up really. It had a history going back to LaPorte County around 1 o'clock this afternoon, and then really ramped up its tornado signature really over the past hour or so. On a day that did not have the best dynamics for a lot of situations, we've seen this now really just rapidly increase between Mendon and Leonidas. is that likely reported tornado on the ground. We have seen this cycle through. This signature is a little bit muddled. If we're kind of seeing it right through here, we would call this a little broad as far as that circulation goes, but it's still enough given our history. It gives us kind of that bullseye. Where are we looking? What are we focused on? It's now up towards the M60, M66 intersection or interchange there. And then as we go towards Leonidas. Leonidas, this is your first warning. Get to your safe spot now. A storm with a history of producing a tornado is headed your way. We have seen damage. We have seen funnel clouds. We have had reports of damage, and this is a serious situation. It looks like we're getting a re-up of that warning a little bit. Again, extending that threat towards the Leonidas area, still extending up towards the end of St. Joseph County. So we're going to follow this storm along until it exits our viewing area officially beyond Leonidas, but towards the north here, a lot of colors that can be seen, very distinct. This area of this area in purple, this is the hail factor here. And hail, wind, and then the likely tornado zone in here between, I'm going to step back over here, between Mendon and Leonidas. We have some video coming in out of Edwardsburg. I want to look at that at the wind taking the roof off, I believe, of a grocery store in Edwardsburg. This is from Lindsay Whitaker, and we see a funnel there. So we're watching that. And again, this was a very quick and rapid spin up.
You can see the debris in the air too.
You'll be able to see the funnel.
So you can see there. There's kind of the debris that's being spun up there. There it is right there, just above when you see the blue roof. That's the spin. And this is early in this storm. So again, this is in the Edwardsburg area, where really the first parts of this tornado warning started to come in. And since then, this circulation at times has only gotten more distinct and stronger. Dave, I want to get the radar map back up here, because as we see this, so we have confirmed visuals of a tornado that has been ongoing. Reports of hail, this is our hail tracker here. I'm going to go back to DBZ once you get the chance here. And we're still kind of focused in between Mendon and Leonidas, because while we're showing you pictures to kind of, and just kind of keep it right in here, focused right here, Dave, until we see the next radar scan. I want to see that next jump, so stay on this view. We're giving you, we've shown you pictures and raised the concern, because if you're anywhere in this area between Mendon and Leonidas, we want you in your safe spot. We're telling you that we have seen funnel clouds. We have reports of damage. We've shown you the visuals. This is a serious situation. If you're between Mendon and Leonidas, get to your safe spot right now. Severe weather is happening. It is ongoing. This is a serious and dangerous situation. We've been monitoring it really throughout the early afternoon. One lone cell. Okay, looks like it was a hail producer, and then just about 3 o'clock, the chatter started to pick up a little bit, or like, okay, what's really happening with this? And then here we are. Here we are now at 4:18 as we continue to track this cell that has really, again, spun up, and you can see that next jump here. So this is the latest picture, and so this tells us that the tornado is just now approaching Leonidas right now. So I want to show you right through here. This is kind of that danger zone in through here. This is Edwardsburg, or this is Three Rivers that the video is. I'm just trying to confirm. We have video of a multi-vortex tornado near or in the Edwardsburg area right now. So this is between Jones and Three Rivers. This is why we're at, again, this is live TV, but this is when we started to get the signature of the storm, and you can kind of see, I see a broad circulation there. There's one. I see what's happening. So there's two. There's the two in that spin up. This is not a large wedge, but you can kind of see that there is a broad circulation, and then there are two distinct smaller funnels touching down in this area.
And that matches up with what we saw on radar 20 minutes ago, where the scan was so big and there were so many colors, and so sometimes that indicates that the storm threat is weakening. Other times it can say that the tornado rotation is so broad that if it can use that rotation, it creates video like what you're seeing here, where we see multiple points of rotation, multiple vortices, we call it. A vortex is just areas of spin, of course, and then they sort of merge into one tornado there. And both of those vortices can cause damage. Obviously, together, they can cause a little bit more damage as well. But there seems to be a lot of visual confirmation that this was a dangerous situation in the Three Rivers area, and now it continues on into the Leonidas area.
Yeah, we continue to track this. Let's come back to the radar picture, and you'll see right through here. Looks like we're now seeing the warning downgraded back to we're no longer at a dangerous or catastrophic situation. This is now a run-of-the-mill tornado warning. What does that mean? That means that this is now back to radar indicated. So we have had a history of this storm we've had a history of this storm being, or having the history of seeing a tornado. But at this point, this is now back to, okay, this is still a serious situation. We have had multiple visual reports, but at this point, no one has current eyes on this at the moment. So if you're in Leonidas, we're taking the same precautions. Why? Because this storm has a history of going through multiple cycles where it spins up, it touches down, it does some damage, it lifts, it kind of goes through another cycle and then touches back down, and that could happen soon. Emmett.
Yeah, Tom, we have confirmation that more than 5,000 people are without power in St. Joseph County.
So
Michigan.
5,000 people without power in St. Joseph County, Michigan, makes a lot of sense, especially as this tornadic line has kind of cut across the area, and most of those are probably in the Three Rivers area as well.
Yeah, confirmation from the Midwest Energy and Communications reports, who supplies power to that area, says largest outages are Jefferson, Calvin, Porter in Cass County, Howard, Fabius, Ontois, and Milton in St. Joseph County, Michigan.
All right, again, likely close to the Three Rivers area as well. We know Fabius is just towards it, and I would expect those numbers to go up as well as more information comes in. But if you're in Leonidas right now, you're in your safe spot. Dave, you have new information.
Yeah, so the reason for the downgrade of the warning from the National Weather Service is there were no reports of a funnel cloud in the Mendon area. So they really didn't see a reason to consider that considerable threat. However, there's still rotation we've seen with this. This tornado go down, go back up again, and recycle itself. So we could be looking at a similar situation right now, but it's likely that the worst of things is in the Leonidas area right now.
Yeah, I wanted to stay with this. Just for our people in the back, this actual tornado threat for our viewing area is probably going to go up to about 4:30. Whatever our thinking is, I want to make sure that we're kind of gathering more of that video and have a lineup, because we could continue our coverage showing that video once this threat really kind of moves through. I'll kind of give you a best of playlist if we get more video coming in around 4:30. But I would expect the actual tornadic threat here to be somewhere between Leonidas and then the St. Joseph County line through here. This is going to take us up to 4:30. So let's just kind of see the timeline. These are roughly 10-minute marks right through here. There's not a lot out there to grab onto because this is a highly rural area. But again, this is taking us pretty much 10 minutes out, that line right there. And so that takes us to roughly 4:30. So this threat continues to 4:30. Leonidas, you're in your safe spot. We've talked about the evolution of this storm going from, all right, we have an indication on radar of a possible tornado to people actually seeing the tornado. It touches down a couple times, reports around the Eagle Lake area, and then likely may have lifted at some point, and then a touchdown closer to the Jones, Fabius, and Three Rivers area, and then it's now in this cycle where it may have lifted again towards Mendon and Leonidas. This is the situation we're in right now. We'll eventually kind of hand off this threat. Before the end of this, Dave, once we get once we get closer to 4:30, I want to make sure we're going out for a wide picture, just to kind of show people everything else that's going on or not going on. This has been just the really only storm that's on the map here. Again, we see a couple other cells that are out there, but nothing that would be that severe. And again, this is kind of the only warned cell on the map. This is kind of a rogue, kind of lone cell that we were kind of watching, and then it really just really literally spun up into something. And for a period of time, it looks like that the Three Rivers area has been the kind of the bullseye for the greatest amount of damage. And we have new video in from the Menards in Three Rivers, I believe. So again, more video here. So this we've shown this video a little bit. Okay, this is the Menards.
Okay. Oh, wow.
There's it. So this is what we were on just after 4 o'clock when we told you that the storm was at its dangerous, and that you can really see. There's self-storage right there. That's it getting lifted off there. So again, that is the damage. And in part, sometimes we're able to see all this because this tornado happened to follow along a major road, M60, and this person who's getting this video was able to take a lot of this right there. You can see the lift of that storm up. That is the tornado doing damage to the building. I believe that's the Menards in Three Rivers, and then that self-storage there that also looks like owned or labeled by Menards also being damaged there. That tornado. Can we loop that through one more time? Again, that is the threat, and we've kind of seen this kind of dot along in certain locations where you have seen kind of the worst of this, at least right now. So again, that is the spot. There's the Menards. There's the roof coming up. And notice you don't really see that dark cloud or wedge. Tornadoes technically are an invisible wind object. What we often see is the lowering of clouds, precipitation, and debris that form that funnel. But until it spins something up or gathers something that we can see, funnels can be invisible objects until we start seeing that. And that also kind of plays with how well and how visible they are on radar. Let's go back to the radar now, as this threat is at least starting to exit our area. Here we are at 426. We're now past Leonidas. Again, this warning has gone through a couple of cycles as we've gone between 4 and 4:30. We were at our greatest threat just after 4, and it has kind of been downgraded to still a tornado warning. We call this kind of a tornado warning where we are concerned about the history of this storm, the nature of this storm, but there has been no defined target or visual since the Mendon area of actually seeing a tornado. So this is now starting to cross the St. Joseph County line. Once this is out of this red box area, we will kind of go towards just our standard radar view. We'll kind of give you a brief synopsis, and we'll try to get kind of a loop in here and kind of show you kind of the history of this storm. So again, this is what we're watching so closely right now. If you're in South Bend, Mishawaka, or really anywhere in much of northern Indiana, there's the extension of this warning. This is now taking us out of our viewing area. So I'm going to go for direction. I'm going to kind of slowly drive the bus for people in the back as far as what do we want to do as we continue this. But our threat ends around 4:30. Our threat for our viewing area ends around 4:30 p.m. It's now kind of extending off towards the east. This is still under that radar indicated part of that warning. So again, saying, okay, the given factors that we have seen so far are there's the possibility of this storm spinning up and producing a tornado. If you're in the Union City area, this is very concerning for you. But there's no confirmed target at this time like there was in Three Rivers. The Three Rivers area probably hit the hardest by this tornado that touched down. We saw that in the Three Rivers area. We had a tornado signature. We've had videos of funnels. Pretty much likely tornado touchdown that happened in the Three Rivers area. Everything points towards that. And this, again, spun up incredibly quickly. From 2:50 p.m., we were tracking a hailstorm that was in LaPorte County, cutting up towards the Niles area. We had reports of kind of low clouds, but nothing that was doing anything in Niles around 3:05. And then a very sharp and dramatic increase between Niles and Edwardsburg that turned into a tornado-warned storm, reports of funnels, and tornado then spotting its way across the ground and across the area from from portions of Cass County into St. Joseph County in Michigan. So this is where we are now. This threat is now coming to an end. I'm going to kind of just move over here at the moment, and I want to kind of take us back for just a little bit of a loop. So even just an hour, this will be kind of interesting. As you'll see, the past hour was probably the worst. So let's go back to 2 hours. Okay, we'll kind of clear off that. And you'll see the different marks right along here as this storm just right over Edwardsburg. You can see it right through here. This is where this storm was nothing until about 3:10. I'm going to take it back through here, Dave, and let's just kind of, I want you to just kind of scrub through with me.
Yeah, sure. This is when I was keeping a close eye on this storm when it really started to concern me.
I want to stop you real quick just so we talk to the folks at home. Okay, we are now going back in time. Our severe threat is now over for our viewing area. So we're now taking you back to 312 when we say this storm, really we were kind of watching it. It wasn't doing much until right around 3:08, 3:10, and we now have a confirmed injury report out of Edwardsburg. So this storm was just kind of a hailstorm, and then at 3:10, it really started to kind of just fire up. And so here we are at 3:20. Dave, take it back. Let's go back to the Edwardsburg, and you'll see how this just kind of really just starts to flare up here. Boom. That's likely the first report. Go back, scrub back and hold it there for a second. Looks like around 3:10, 3:14. So before this mark, in fact, why don't you take it back to 3:08, Dave?
Okay.
So here we are. If you go back, let's go back a little bit. So here we are, yeah, 3:05, even better. So this is 3:05, 3:07 p.m. This is the first real inkling of, this is, all right, a cell that is kind of very mid to, okay, we're seeing what we call broad rotation. We're kind of watching. I remember at this point, Dave, you were just like, hey, okay. I was like, all right, let's do our standard procedure. Let's get things kind of moving. Now let's jump to 3:10, and you'll see your jump here. Boom. This is likely when that first bit of damage on the north side of Edwardsburg, where we now have at least confirmed reports of one injury in the Edwardsburg area, of that area of concern. So again, it's right in there that this happened. Now let's kind of scrub through a little bit, Dave. Take us up about 15 minutes. So still looks like a tornado, still looks towards the Calvin area, but this is kind of weaker. And then we call this kind of broad. And then if you look right here, this is a very good example, Dave. 326, there's not a lot going on here. There might be some rotation in here, but we kind of had a pause in reports and damage, and we're kind of wondering, all right, what's happening at this point? Now let's go up to about 345. So if you keep scrubbing this forward, right through here, so go back at right before Fabius. So this is 340, and you can see we start to see this gathering. So that's the cycle. I want you to scrub between Calvin and Fabius again as we kind of scrub through here. And what you'll kind of see is the tornado or this storm going through that, I'll call it a down cycle, where it's not really producing a tornado most likely. And then as we get towards Fabius around 340, it starts coming together again. Why don't you move the map a little bit, Dave? And we'll scrub a little bit forward here. And so now we're here 340 to 345, and take this slow, Dave, and we'll watch the progression. We'll watch this area of color between 345 and as we head towards 345 to 4 o'clock. This is where, zoom in a little bit more, Dave, you're really going to see these colors really kind of brighten up and blossom, especially across this southern half of Three Rivers. So slowly come through here, and this is the likely progression of this tornado across Three Rivers where we have reported damage. You can see a very big kind of blow up. Also what's happening here is we have a lot of objects in the air that are catching the radar. So part of the reason that this is all kind of muddled through here is that we're also picking up what is likely debris that is picked up, and that kind of points the radar in all sorts of different directions. Now zoom out a little bit more, and you'll see this cycle through once again and play this up as it head towards the Mentone area, and it'll kind of go towards the current time. And we don't have as much as far as a signature. It's more so broad, and so this is kind of the end, or the cycle happens again. So we had a likely touchdown around Edwardsburg, a lift, and then a likely touchdown around Fabius and the Three Rivers area. So there'll be a survey on this. There'll be storm spot. There'll be crews from the National Weather Service that will go out to survey this. They're still on this storm right here that is still moving now into portions of southern Michigan. And so they're still actively working the warnings right now. But
the storm has exited our viewing area, though.
Yeah, so our severe threat is coming to an end, and we're kind of going through this this post-analysis now. I want you to go back to a wide live view of the radar picture for now, Dave. And you can see at this point, yes, there are some storms back towards Chicago. This has no history of severe weather. We had kind of this lone cell that fired up. In fact, let's go back just a little bit more back in time, Dave. I'm going to take us back the last 3 hours, and we'll kind of let this play out. And let me change the watches and warnings to go along with the time. And so this is kind of how this all played out here. So when I say this storm, it was a little hail producer, is broad. The first tornado warnings weren't issued until this storm was actually past Edwardsburg. So sometimes it takes a tornado to happen or damage to happen to prompt the warning. When I say this thing spun up fairly quickly, it spun up fairly quickly. We were watching it kind of closely, but we didn't really have any indication until after it happened. And you can see when the warning came out, it was actually close to the Cassopolis area around 3:30. Then the storm was at its absolute worst or its peak just after 4 o'clock. But this is the progression of the storm. And I can take you back, watch as we kind of loop back through the time frame of this. The storm first kind of showed up around 1:30, 2 o'clock. Dave, I remember we were kind of like, hey, we're watching this storm. It could be a hailer. It was, and then it really wasn't until, well, with the video reports, 3:10, but then when it came to actual tornado warnings, it was closer to 3:30 that we had our first tornado warning. And we still have, we're looking at damage meteorologist Emmett Toomey right now. You're getting ready to head to the Three Rivers area. So again, we're going to go look for kind of some of those damage reports here. Here we are at 4:36. I'm going to ask our crews in the back, are we still staying on? What do you want? I'm good to keep talking as much as you guys want. As we continue to kind of fill in and we kind of gather crews and get more information out of the Niles and Edwardsburg area, and then on towards the St. Joseph County area and Three Rivers. Keep in mind, I'm currently on IFB 6, so just let me know. We're going to keep kind of diving through this as I'll kind of take us back in time. The reason we're still on air now is because we're in this kind of zone between newscasts at the moment, and our crews this is live TV, folks. We are in motion to gather more information and get some of these reports. But to kind of recap for you, if we go back to about 3:05, to around 3:05, we had that likely tornado touchdown time. And then this storm then cut across and moved up towards the northeast. And we do have confirmed at least reports of damage and one injury right now. And now we're in the mode of search and gather more information. There is the possibility of more thunderstorms as we go through this evening and into the overnight. That severe threat remains low. I will tell you this was an extreme kind of lone actor of a storm, but we're always on watch because quick spin-ups like this can happen rapidly, which is why we kind of always have our team in place in situations like this. Now 4:38. Thank you for staying with us. The severe threat for our area is over for this period of time. Our news starts in just a few minutes on ABC 57 News at 5. Stay with us.